Father Simon and the Conclave of Clemency. This is from Pete, by the way. Sorry, I hadn't mentioned that. Pete sends in tonight's
All right,
tale.
Pete.
All right, Pete. My tale begins after a significant Icelandic volcano eruption. You remember the one that caused a modicum of air traffic control confusion across Europe? Living in New Zealand at the time, my wife and I had decided now was the time to show our 3 daughters the glories of Europe. Having toured parts of Europe, we visited family in the UK before setting off for Gatwick at the ungodly hour of 4 a.m. and expected to arrive in plenty of time to check in for our flight to Naples for our trip to Italy. However, we were met by a queue of about 200 people snaking through the barriers to the check-in desk, the backlog being caused by those delayed from the day before by the volcanic disturbance. As the time drew nearer for our departure, I began to fret, until a call was put out for those on the Naples flight to come forward. Surging Shrek-like through the barriers, we arrived with our overladen bags. Luckily, they were in such a rush they ignored the fact that at least 2 of our bags were over the weight limit, and we dashed down the many walkways to meet our flight, Home Alone style. On arrival at Naples, we made our way to the railway station to leave our luggage at the baggage store so that we could visit Pompeii unburdened before continuing our train journey later. Having bolted out of Pompeii at a run to get the local train, we arrived back at the railway station and collected our luggage. Arriving just in time, we boarded the train and got into our pre-booked 6-seater cabin, settling down to enjoy the journey and anticipate the joys of ancient Rome. Now, we've been fortunate to travel around some of Europe, and our girls were quite au fait with the vagaries of continental trains, but even so noted that the steps were a significant height from the platform. As each person had a backpack and a suitcase of varying sizes, I decided that some organisation was in order. About 10 minutes outside Rome, I marshalled our girls and directed each down the corridor with a backpack and a suitcase each, along with an admonition to wait by the exit door. I explained I would then get out of the other exit and assist each down in turn. Okay, so we're kind of interestingly poised. What on earth could go wrong? This all went swimmingly, says Pete, until I got to the final bag on the luggage rack, which appeared to be caught on something. Reluctant to call my long-suffering wife back to assist me, I gave it a good solid heave. It was then I discovered what the sticking point was, and the sticking point had in fact been the emergency brake lever.
Oops.
Not as in the UK, a discreet safe chain, but a lever held by a skimpy piece of lead seal, which, being caught up in my efforts, was now pulled down with an ominous clunk. My middle daughter saw my panic and heard some inappropriate words that she never forgot, I have to say, and she now tells me she vividly recalls being told to leg it, which she did with some alacrity. As the previously speeding express train slid to a screaming halt, my wife and children falling down the corridor in the ensuing melee, I tried pathetically to re-secure the pneumatic-operated lever. Realizing this was hopeless, I bolted from the cabin with my cursed bag. At this juncture, I should point out that after a number of years in the UK, police, I had emigrated to New Zealand to the police force and by now was in a senior position, held in high regard for my ability to remain calm under pressure and make sound decisions in stressful situations. Imagine then the surprise of my wife when I completely lost the plot. When asked what I was going to do, I replied quaveringly that, not knowing if I would be arrested or fined, that I would wait at the end of the carriage and only speak if spoken to, my Italian being pidgin at best. Pigeon, in fact. The driver and conductor duly arrived at the offending cabin and looked up and down, seemingly oblivious to the fact that all the other passengers were staring accusingly at us. And it was my good fortune that at that exact point, 2 laughing, cocky youths swaggered past, and their bad fortune that they were subsequently dragged away for questioning. Well, I say bad fortune, I may have smiled at the train driver and nodded and then pointed in their direction. So maybe that was me. Anyway, says Pete, I need forgiveness not from the Italian train authorities who frankly had a ridiculous emergency brake system. Ludicrous. Not from the 2 youths who were enjoying the whole thing far too much. Nor from my family, who enjoyed regaling this story at every opportunity over the years, but from my fellow stalwart passengers who, despite an interrupted journey, did not dob me in with the authorities. I think that's an ancient Italian phrase. Anyway, so yes, you would have thought that all the other passengers would have said, it's not It's not those kids. It's actually those English or those Kiwis that are over there. Anyway, Pete needs some forgiveness. I don't think Sister Bobby's going to give it, though.
Well, I don't think anybody could give it. Do you?
No.
Bobby?
I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Pete, come on. What do you think? Do you think I'm going to forgive you? Of course I'm not going to forgive you. It's dangerous. And also it's deceitful. You blamed two other people. I'm surprised that those boys, or I'm assuming they were boys, he said youths.
No, the girls.
Oh, the girls.
Oh, I see,
really?
the youths. I think, yes, I don't know. I don't think we know.
Well, the thing is, Pete, you blame somebody else. You didn't take responsibility for it. And you should know better. You're in a position of authority. You're a parent. And you should be setting an example. It wouldn't have hurt you to just say, look, I've done this and you need to fix this before you set off down those mountains, maybe. It's, the potential here for danger. I think, I'm not impressed, Pete. You're not forgiven.
Quite scary when she gets stern and outraged,
yeah,
isn't she, Bobby?
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no way you can possibly be forgiven here. The fact that you were one of the police officers, that came to us at the very end of the story. So you could have mentioned that a lot earlier on, just tried to hide that away. So there is no way on earth you could possibly be forgiven for this. I can understand you being absolutely mortified when you pull the emergency brake, but then to let other people take the blame, not no way, not no how, and you taught your daughter how to swear.
That's right. She might have known that already.